Jason with Chicago News, and if you're a car enthusiast, you're just as excited as I am to try out this 2018 Volkswagen GTI. If you spent time in Europe, you see cars like this everywhere, and people from Europe know exactly what this is all about. Here, this just looks like an economy car, so you might want to wear a helmet every day. That way people know you mean business. This is the quintessential hot hatch, and essentially this is a category that Volkswagen invented in the 70s with the very first GTI. Really though, what you have here is a big, heavy version of it. The original was lightweight, nimble. This has a lot of power, but also a lot of weight to go along with it. The design around the front here is very purposeful. You've got these large air inlets on the sides. There's the red stripe here that signifies the GTI version that actually echoes right inside the headlights here. It's really well designed, and it sets this apart from a regular Golf. Around the side here, you can see just how subtle the design is. There's a real small GTI badge that signifies how this is different, a little bit lower stance, which is why people might confuse this with an economy car. This is bigger than the original GTI, but one great improvement is 4 doors instead of 2. The original was a 2-door. This is much more usable. You've got a usable back seat, easier to get in and out of. You don't have to fold the seat forward. One thing we can all agree on is it's way more fun to drive a GTI than to talk about it. So let's get going. Here's what you really want to do in a GTI. That's what I'm talking about. 220 horsepower out of this 2-liter turbocharged engine, but most importantly, a proper manual gearbox. Now, if you are interested in buying a GTI, you can get the DSG gearbox. DSG stands for dual clutch. It's a dual clutch gearbox with no clutch pedal, so you can drive it like an automatic. It's really a fantastic transmission, but I urge you, if you want to get a GTI, learn to drive stick. This is the most fun way to drive one of these. The original GTI back in the 70s had this golf ball shaped shifter, and they've kept that here. There's lots of little touches throughout, especially the GTI logo itself, that just remind you of that original. And the original really changed the market. It was the first hot hatch out there, and it really gave something for especially young car enthusiasts to buy. You know, they couldn't afford a Porsche, but they could definitely afford a GTI. If you wanted to have fun driving a car, the GTI was it. Like many of us in our 40s, this GTI has gained quite a lot of weight, but it also at the same time has gained a lot of power. That original GTI had only 108 horsepower, but weighed just about 2,000 pounds. This weighs 3,000 pounds, but has double the horsepower. What it means is this is a lot faster in a straight line. That original GTI, a little smaller, a lot more nimble. Our test car here is the Autobahn edition, which is a package that gives you basically every option that you could imagine. This has the big screen infotainment system. It's got every safety feature you can imagine. There's lane assist, emergency braking, forward radar. It's got automatic cruise control. It'll even park itself. And these are all things I just don't think fits with the image of a GTI. You know, you can also get a Golf R, which is an all-wheel drive, even higher horsepower version of the Golf. And I think they should have kept all those features for the Golf R and left the GTI to be a more simple car. Certainly though, if you want all those options, they're available to you. There's a big difference in price, however, between the base version and this version. That original GTI was very Spartan on the inside, not a lot of creature comforts. Materials weren't the best. It really didn't matter though. In this GTI, however, you've got really nice materials. The fit and finish is excellent. Volkswagen has come a long way in that arena. And we talked about that red line across the grille and the lights. That's echoed here at night. There's a red light, that indirect light, the lights on the door and on the floor here. So consistency in design, very European design, and a very, very nice interior. While this system is definitely an improvement, there's some real quirks. For instance, when you're driving, let's say you want to change the sound settings. You go to settings, it locks you out of the menu. But if you go here, hit menu instead, swipe over and hit sound, it accesses the exact same menu and lets you use it. So definitely some quirks in the software. You know, I wonder if they didn't spend enough time testing this out. One of my pet peeves with systems like this is there's multiple ways to do the same function. There should just be one button to change the sound. Speaking of sound, this has the Fender audio system. If you're gonna buy a base GTI, I'm hoping that you can get just this audio system as an option because it's a really great sounding system. It is a little on the boomy side, but it does so while still staying really accurate. It's got a ton of sound pressure, so it's a really good system. Definitely an option you should choose. Plenty of ways to connect to it too. You've got SD card slots, USB. We've also got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, although we had trouble pairing our phone with the Android Auto. I'm not sure what that's about. Besides acceleration, a GTI is all about handling. You know, and this new version is absolutely fantastic. You've got tons of grip, not just entering the corner, it rotates perfectly. You go to put the power down, it's got great traction coming out. One thing you might want to do if you have a GTI like this is put a lawyer on retainer because you're probably going to get a couple speeding tickets. They've stuffed really big wheels and tires underneath this GTI, and what that means is the turning radius is not very good. There's not a ton of clearance on the inside of the wheel, so they have to limit how much they turn. A little bit annoying when you have to turn around in a tight spot. However, those wheels and tires do end up giving you the grip you need when you want to have some fun. Like we talked about, one other benefit of this GTI getting bigger is you've actually got a usable back seat. Not only do you have 4 doors to get in and out of it, there's enough room back there for 4 adults to ride in this thing, especially if it's a fairly short trip. The overall shape of this car stays true to the original GTI, which is essentially pretty boxy. What that does is it actually creates a lot of headroom in the back. A lot of cars these days have gone with a really sloping roof line, and that just ends up taking away space from the rear seat headroom. We've got a really big sunroof panel, which is nice, lets a lot of light through. But again, because of that boxy shape, it doesn't take away a lot of space when it retracts. There's not many curves here in Chicago, but we've got a few, so pardon me for a second. Okay, I think I'm good. One of the things that's really important in a car with this much performance is how well the seat's bolstered. You want to be able to be held in when you're tossing this thing around, and these seats have great bolsters, but not only are they the right size, they're adjustable, so you can really set this thing up to hug you, and it holds you right where you need to be in the corners. On top of that, they're just really comfortable. Well, our time with this GTI is coming to a close, and we're definitely sad to give it back. From the bright red color to the power, and especially the handling, this is just downright fun to drive. Now, this Autobahn version has just too many features. We think the one to get is the base version. This is all about lightweight, simple, and fun, not necessarily all the tech features. It's nice that you can order them, but $26,000 for a starting price is a much nicer point than $35,000 for this. Do yourself a favor, go out, test drive one of these, you'll have a blast.